Part 1. Do it yourself. The words weren't shouted. They weren't wrapped in encouragement or even sarcasm. They were cold, flat, and final. The broken rifle hit the dusty concrete floor between them with a metallic crack that echoed through the training yard. Every head turned. Lieutenant Mara Vale didn't move at first. The desert wind dragged sand across the compound, hissing against metal barricades and armored vehicles. Around her, a dozen battle-hardened operators stood in a loose semicircle, some smirking, others watching carefully. Commander Holt folded his arms. You keep saying you can shoot. You keep saying you don't need perfect conditions. There's your test. Mara crouched slowly and picked up the rifle. The stock was splintered near the shoulder plate. The scope was cracked across one edge, spiderweb lines distorting the glass. The bolt dragged when she tested it. The bipod was missing a foot pad. It wasn't just worn, it was sabotaged. A few of the men chuckled under their breath. One muttered, "She asked for it." Another whispered, "This'll be quick." Mara ignored them. She had learned long ago that noise was a weapon, sometimes louder than gunfire. Doubt could rattle a person faster than recoil. But doubt only worked if you let it in. She stood and slung the damaged rifle over her shoulder. "What's the distance?" she asked calmly. 800 meters, Holt replied. "Moving steel. Crosswind. You've got 1 hour to fix it." Then one shot. One shot. If she missed, it wouldn't just be a failed drill. It would confirm what some already believed, that she didn't belong in the most elite sniper unit in naval special operations. She nodded once and walked toward the maintenance shed. Behind her, someone laughed. Inside the dim shed, sunlight cut through high windows in sharp beams. Dust particles floated in the air like drifting embers. Mara laid the rifle on the bench and took a slow breath. She didn't rush. First, she stripped it down. The cracked scope mount was loose. She tightened it with a spare torque wrench from the communal toolbox. The lens was fractured, but the reticle inside remained intact. She adjusted it slightly to compensate for the visual distortion. The bolt needed cleaning. Sand had been packed deliberately into the housing. She wiped it out with an oil-soaked rag, working the action until it slid smoother. The stock worried her. The splinter ran deep near the recoil pad. Under pressure, it could shift her aim by millimeters, enough to miss at 800 meters. She scanned the shelf, found industrial adhesive, wrapped the cracked area tightly with reinforced tape, and then used a thin strip of spare paracord to cinch it down. It wasn't pretty, but it would hold. She stepped outside 45 minutes later. The wind had picked up. Across the range, a steel silhouette target mounted on a mechanical rail glided left and right, unpredictable in speed. The desert heat shimmered above the sand, distorting distance. Holt glanced at his watch. "You've got 15 minutes. Mara walked to the firing line and lay prone. She adjusted the bipod carefully, compensating for the uneven foot. She planted her body into the earth, letting the ground absorb her weight. The wind tugged at her sleeves. She watched the target through fractured glass. The crack in the lens cut across her view like lightning frozen in time. Voices murmured behind her. She won't even see the center. Scope's garbage. She's done. Mara slowed her breathing. Inhale. Exhale. She tracked the moving steel, calculating speed, wind drift, bullet drop. She ignored the crack in the glass and focused on the reticle. The world narrowed. The wind shifted slightly, 2 degrees more than before. She adjusted. The target slid left. She led it. Her finger tightened. The rifle cracked. The recoil thudded into her shoulder, and the reinforced stock held. There was a heartbeat of silence. Then, clang. The steel rang out across the desert. The echo bounced off the distant hills. No one spoke. The target slowed, a fresh mark visible dead center. Mara didn't smile. She simply stood, cleared the chamber, and slung the rifle over her shoulder. Commander Holt stepped forward slowly. His face gave nothing away. "One lucky shot," someone muttered. Holt looked at the man who said it. 800 meters. Broken scope. Crosswind. He turned back to Mara. "Report to briefing at 1900. That was it. No praise. No applause. But the tone had shifted. And everyone knew it. 2 weeks later, the real test came. A recon unit was trapped in hostile territory, pinned down in an abandoned industrial district outside a volatile coastal city. Enemy fighters had high ground control and overlapping firing lanes. Extraction helicopters couldn't approach. Artillery would risk friendly fire. They needed precision. They needed a sniper. Mara stood in the operations room, staring at satellite imagery projected across the wall. "Distance?" she asked. "Just over a kilometer from viable overwatch," Holt replied. She nodded. Wind, unstable, urban cross currents, spotter, a pause, negative, we're short, that meant she'd operate alone. The room fell quiet. Holt looked at her steadily. You said once you don't need perfect conditions. She met his eyes. I don't. Night fell over the city as she moved into position. She climbed 6 flights of a partially collapsed concrete building, boots silent on debris. The air smelled of rust and smoke. Below, sporadic gunfire echoed through alleyways. She reached the rooftop and set up behind a shattered wall. Through her high-powered optic, this time intact, she scanned the battlefield. The recon team was pinned behind an overturned truck. Muzzle flashes flickered from upper windows across the street. 3 shooters, 2 shifting, 1 fixed behind a sandbag nest. The fixed one was the key. She steadied her breathing. Distance, 1,042 meters. Wind, variable, gusting from the west. She adjusted elevation. The crosswind shifted again. She waited. One of the shifting shooters leaned too far out. She fired. The shot traveled over a second. The enemy fighter collapsed backward from the window. Chaos erupted. The second shooter scrambled. She reacquired. Fired. Another fell. The third ducked behind cover. The fixed gunner in the sandbag nest began spraying suppressive fire toward the recon team. Mara adjusted 2 clicks right. She had one clear line between crumbling pillars. The wind dropped for half a second. She took it. The rifle roared. The gunner slumped. Silence followed. Then, over comms, overwatch, confirm targets neutralized. She pressed her mic. 3 down. Move. The recon team wasted no time. They broke cover and sprinted down an alley toward extraction point Bravo. Mara stayed in position, scanning for secondary threats. Her heart remained steady. No tremor. No hesitation. Below, enemy reinforcements began arriving, but too late. Within minutes, the recon team disappeared into armored vehicles waiting at the perimeter. Mission accomplished. Mara packed up slowly and descended the stairwell. At the base, Holt waited beside a transport truck. He studied her face. Clean work. She nodded. As the truck doors closed behind her, she allowed herself one small breath of relief. But the story wasn't over. Because word had spread, and not everyone was pleased. Back at base, whispers turned into respect. Operators who once smirked now asked for advice. But admiration can be dangerous. It paints a target. Intelligence reports soon indicated a hostile sniper had been deployed into the same region, a marksman with a reputation for hunting elite operators. His nickname circulated like a warning. The Ghost. And his message was clear. He was coming. The first sign wasn't dramatic. It was precise. A supply convoy escorting humanitarian aid through a contested stretch of desert was struck by a single round. The lead vehicle's engine block was disabled instantly. The shot had come from over 1,200 meters. Calculated. Measured. A calling card. No casualties, but it was a warning. Command assembled the unit immediately. This sniper wants attention, Holt said. And he wants us watching. Mara studied the ballistic report. The round had traveled cleanly through layered metal. High caliber. Custom load. He's testing us, she said quietly. 2 days later, a second incident occurred. This time, an Allied scout was killed. Single shot. Through cover. Windy conditions. Extreme distance. Mara stared at the map. He's baiting overwatch positions. Holt nodded. You're thinking what I'm thinking. Yes. He wants you. Silence settled over the room. Mara didn't flinch. Then let's not disappoint him. The trap was set in a half-ruined port facility overlooking open desert and skeletal cargo cranes. Mara positioned herself on an elevated catwalk, partially concealed by torn tarps and steel beams. Below, a small tactical team moved deliberately through open ground, visible enough to draw attention but prepared for rapid cover. Hours passed. The sun climbed high. Heat shimmered off concrete. Then, a glint, barely noticeable, half a kilometer beyond a collapsed warehouse. She narrowed her optic. Nothing obvious, but she felt it, a presence. Her pulse remained slow. She scanned again. There, a shadow where shadow shouldn't shift. She calculated distance. 1,387 meters. Wind strong from the east. He fired first. The round slammed into a crate near the tactical team, splintering wood. Panic erupted below, but it was controlled, rehearsed. Mara traced the origin point and saw faint dust displacement. He was adjusting for second shot. So was she. She dialed elevation, factored gusting wind. He fired again, missed by inches. She exhaled halfway, and squeezed. The rifle bucked. Time stretched. The bullet cut across open air, riding shifting wind. A second later, a distant figure jerked violently. Then stilled. Silence. No third shot came. Mara held position for 30 full seconds. Then into comms. Target neutralized. Below, the tactical team secured the area. When they reached the sniper's position, they confirmed it. The ghost was no more. Back at base, something had changed permanently. Not just in how others saw her, but in how they spoke her name. Commander Holt stood before the assembled unit. "You were told to do it yourself once," he said quietly. "You did." He paused. "From this day forward, no one questions your place here." There was no applause, but there was something stronger. Respect. Mara stepped forward slightly, then looked straight into the camera recording the debrief footage for training archives. "If you're watching this," she said calmly, "remember something. Skill isn't given, it's earned. Doubt will always be louder than belief. Let your results speak." She gave the faintest hint of a smile. And if you believe in stories of strength like this, subscribe to her Battlefield legacy. Tell us in the comments where you're watching from. Your support keeps these stories alive. The recording ended. Outside, the desert wind moved across the base once more. But this time, no one laughed when she walked past. Because they knew, when the mission demanded one shot, she was the one you call.